Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to parallel session 4 of the 8th International Language and Language Teaching Conference in room 5. So first of all, I would like to apologize for the changes in the schedule. We are going to just have two presenters here, and it will be presented by Miss Rosinta Norawati and Miss Ulil Fitria, and Miss Mega Wulandari is transferred to the room 3. Okay, my name is Ernestine, a third semester student of Sanata Dharma University, as today's moderator in this room. I will be in charge of this parallel session, and before we begin, please let me the rules. First, each presentation will last for 15 minutes. Second, in this parallel session, there will be 2 presentations delivered in a row. The third, I will remain via the raise hand icon features on Zoom if you have 5 minutes left. Then I'll send the notification in the chat box if you have 2 minutes left. So make sure you pay attention to it. Fourth, we will have Q&A session after all presentations have been delivered. And the fifth, other rules can be found in the program book. So for the questions, if you have the questions to ask to the presenters, you can type your question in the chat box by mentioning your name, affiliation, to whom the question is addressed, and then the questions. Okay, I will repeat it again. You can mentioning your name, affiliation, to whom the question is addressed, and then the questions. At the end of the session, the presenters will answer your question in Q&A session. Okay, so now let's go to the next sections. In this 4 parallel, there are 2 presentations in this room by Miss Rosinta Norawati, along with Miss Indri Anastasia and Mr. Muhammad Fauzan, and Miss Ulil Fitria. And let's start with the first presentation for this parallel, entitled EFL Listening Class During Remote Teaching. It will be delivered by Miss Rosinta Norawati along with Miss Indri Anastasia and Mr. Muhammad Fauzan from Universitas Jambi. So Miss Rosinta and friends, you have 15 minutes. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Ernestine. Good afternoon, Bapak Ibu. We are going to present our small research with the title EFL Listening Class During Remote Teaching. Me, Rosinta Norawati, Ibu Indri Anastasia, and Fauzan. We are from Jambi University. Okay, let's start. The background. Okay. Due to the pandemic that hit the world, we know that face-to-face classroom has shifted to online teaching, and as teacher, we try to find and implement attention-grabbing strategies to attract student interest in learning, and we look for the different way to teach. And we come to the problem. Or the problem of this study is how listening teachers develop their competencies in integrating technology and how they use technology tools provided during the remote teaching. Okay. Okay, methodology. Survey method was employed in this research, and questionnaires, 15 questionnaires in the form of Google Form was distributed to the participants and completed online. Before the participants, the respondents answer the questionnaires, we asked them about their teaching experience. So their teaching experience is between 5 to 15 years teaching experience. Okay. Now, from the results, it shows that all listening teachers develop their competencies through technology-focused teacher development, TPD, during their remote teaching. Now, they got half of the respondents practice the internal TPD provided by their institution, and the other use free and paid online workshop or webinar. This is the result of our study. Okay, next, 83.3% of the respondents apply the combination of synchronous and asynchronous, but only 16.7% apply the synchronous teaching. Yeah. Okay, now, and the platform that they use in their teaching during the remote teaching is mostly they apply the video conference like Zoom, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams. And messengers like WhatsApp, Telegram, Line, and virtual class or LSM. They use Google Classroom, Edmodo, and Moodle. And then when asking them how they prepare their teaching materials during the remote teaching, 83% they said that it's somewhat. Sometimes maybe they have time, sometimes maybe they just apply the technology that they use. Okay. Okay. When asking them about their plan on their online listening lessons during the remote teaching, 50% of them are adapted from face-to-face teaching, 33.3% create new lessons in accordance with the new situation, and the rest, they, similar to face-to-face teaching. That's the result of the study. It's small, so I cannot hear clear. I cannot see clearly. Okay, talking about the learning objectives, 50% of them, the same, half of them exactly apply the same learning objectives with the face-to-face teaching, and some of them, 50%, the other 50%, similar to face-to-face teaching with smaller scope and expectation. And when asking them about how they conduct the activities in their listening class during remote teaching, mostly they use the individual learning. For example, the students record a video of themselves talking about the assigned topic, and the others apply the group work. Students discuss in group the assigned topics, and also pair work. Students discuss the assigned topic with his or her partner. Individual learning, group work, and pair work. Okay. When asking them variation opportunity for students practice in their listening skills, half of them said that yes, they apply the variation of their teaching, and the others somewhat. Sometimes the variation is they apply the variation. Okay. And when asking whether the students learning as much as they were prior to switching to remote teaching, to remote learning, 83.3% said that yes, the students learning as much as they prior to switching to remote learning. So it's not different from face-to-face or online learning. Now, asking the teacher how they assess their students' listening skill, most of 66.70% told that they asked the students from the responsive listening and interactive listening and intensive listening. And intensive listening. The last is extensive listening. Okay. Now, the conclusion that we get from this research is that teachers become accustomed to the situation through developing their own competencies in using technology and are able to get used to the technology of teaching and apply them to their teaching listening during the remote teaching. So this is the result of our study when we did when at that time we did the remote teaching in our university. I think it's the same with the other university, teaching from home. Okay, I think that's all, Mbak Ernestine.
Okay, Miss, actually you still have 6 minutes. Maybe you want add some more based on your presentation.
Okay, maybe Bu Indri will add another information, Bu Indri.
I think all the information has been there, Bu Nora. We will be waiting for question if there are any later from the floor.
Okay.
That's all, Ibu Mbak Ernestine.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation, Miss Rosinta and Miss Indri. So give applause to Miss Rosinta and Miss Indri for the amazing presentation, everyone. Okay, so we are going to the next presentation. We're going to the next presentation entitled From International Experience to Intercultural Competence, examining Indonesian EFL teachers' experience. It will be delivered by Miss Ulil Fitria from Universitas Negeri Malang. Miss Ulil, you have 15 minutes and the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ernest.
You're welcome, Miss.
Okay, and a very good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully that you still enjoy the presentations, even though it is in the last day and in the last sessions of the parallel presentations. Okay, my name is Ulil Fitria. I'm a PhD student of Universitas Negeri Malang. And today I'm going to present the result of my pilot study for my dissertation research. And why I decided to present it, because I'd like to emphasize the importance of conducting a pilot study before we conduct a real research. And also I'd like to have some inputs from the audience in this forum. And the title of my presentations today is From International Experience to Intercultural Competence, examining Indonesian EFL teachers' experience. And I'm working with Ibu Professor Utami Widiati and Bapak Yazid Bastami and also Ibu Anik Nunu Uliani as my supervisor. And likely that this my dissertation's research is proposed by PNPB Universitas Negeri Malang. Is sponsored, sorry. Okay, well, dear audience, I'd like to begin by telling the purpose of my pilot study. Those are, okay. To assess the feasibility of my PhD research entitled Reflections on Intercultural Language Teaching Practices of Internationally Experienced EFL Teachers. And also it is to test my proposed study design and procedure for my PhD research, and to try out my research instrument, also to obtain preliminary data and result for my PhD research. And Now let's move on to the background of the study. Wait. Okay. This one. Okay. Now let's move on to the background of the study. This research is based on the rationale of 21st century teaching, which demand EFL learners to have intercultural competence to prepare them to be a part of global citizens. And this global necessity has been realized by EFL teachers, which also requires them to have intercultural competence as they are a key broker in the classroom. And however, many research results indicated the lack of teachers' intercultural competence is one of the barriers in incorporating culture in EFL classroom. Therefore, teachers need to be exposed into professional development, which involve intercultural engagement. On the other hand, many research results has also revealed that international experience bring positive contribution to individuals who experience it. They stated that having international experience may help them raise their intercultural sensitivity and competence. And in teachers' case, it can develop their positive personal and professional growth. However, there are not quite many research on international experience conducted on in-service teacher, even in Indonesia. Mostly are conducted on students and pre-service teachers, while Bennett in 2012 is still questioned the impact of international experience toward individuals' intercultural sensitivity and competence development. Therefore, my research addressed this issue by focusing on in-service teachers' experience. The research questions are, what international experiences do teachers have? And how do the international experiences contribute to intercultural sensitivity and competence development? This research used Bennett's developmental model of intercultural sensitivity as a theoretical framework, which has 6 stages of development. Those are denial, defense, and minimizations as the first step of development, called as ethnocentrism. And the other 3 stages are acceptance, adaptations, integrations, as the last step called ethnorelativism. In this research, I uses multiple biographical narrative study by involving 3 participants selected based on the criteria. Generally, I use Creswell narrative procedure and collecting the data by using 2 research instruments. Those were documents and 3 cycle semi-structured interview guidelines. And I collected the data by focusing on teachers' experience and their critical incidents during their live abroad. And I analyzed the data vertically and horizontally and classified the data based on its themes. Now, next we move on to the finding and discussions. And this is the teacher's profile of my participants. I intentionally, what do you call it? I intentionally hide the name of the participants because it is kind of confidential in the research ethics. So I use a code to address my participant, T1 and T2 and also T3. T1 is a teacher with strong religious background since he spent his time living in pesantren for about 9 years. He has been teaching for 15 years and teaching at university level since 2013. After he was graduated from one of Australian university in 2012 for his master's degree. And his undergraduate program was in Indonesia, undertaking English and Literature department. He had an experience living abroad, which was in Australia for about 2 years for studying, and once traveled to Singapore and Malaysia for 3 days, each for personal trips. While the T2 is a higher education teacher with 6 years of teaching experience. She had an international experience for about 2 years, and when she undertook his master program in Australia. Before she went to Australia, she worked at several international NGO in Aceh for about 4 years. So she also has an international experience from the organizations. And the last participant is still 3. Is a university teacher with 4 years teaching experiences, and she spent her time in Europe for about 3 years to pursue her master degree in one of university in Europe. And her undergraduate program was in Solo, majoring English literature, and she had traveled to several countries during living in Europe and make close relationship with many people from other countries. Thus, she has a lot of experience in engaging with other people with diverse cultural background. And okay, this is the finding of my research. From the result of the interviews, I found that teachers had quite different related to intercultural encounters when they were living abroad. And at the same time, those teachers had also some similar intercultural encounters, such as food, love relationship, student-teachers relationship, social interactions, and facing different individual characteristics with the people in their host country. Based on the studies, it can be found that teachers respond and react in different way when they face cultural differences in the host country. Each individual experience different complexity based on their own perceptual category of the host country. Thus, teachers' background knowledge and other country, teachers' background knowledge of other country played a very important role to help them adjust easily with cultural differences in the host country. The teacher, like T1, for example, he has strong religious belief. So that's why he had struggled in facing cultural differences. At the first time of his arrival, he was shocked with the cultural difference. He needs sometimes around 6 months, as he stated in the interview, to finally adjust himself to the host country, which was actually he still found cultural shocking in the following days and months. For example, when he was shocked by the incident when he met lesbian or gay couple in the university. In this incident, I go back to the previous slide. Okay, this one. Okay. In this incident, T1 was firstly in defense stage since he thought it was not in line with his religious principle. And finally, he moved from defense to minimizations and tried to be in acceptance stage or to be ethno-relativism in the main stage. And he had similar cases with other incidents. And at the same case, he can also move successfully up to integration stage in another incident. This also happened to the other participants. And interestingly, some finding also indicated that even though all the participants finally moved forward following the continuum of developmental model, yet the process did not always linear as it is described by the model. Sometimes some of them need to be back and forth along the continuum as a process of cultural confirmations or cultural negotiations. Based on the result of my study, thus I conclude that cultural sensitivity and competence development are complex, and individual background knowledge or individual perceptual category of the home culture and the host country plays an important role in assisting teachers to adjust in the host country, as well as to help them to move forward to be in the last stage of developmental model proposed by Bennett. And the second, the theoretical framework of the MIS is applicable, yet the development of individuals' intercultural sensitivity and competence is not always linear as it is described. From the study, it was readily found that individuals move directly forward along the continuum. They may move forward and backward, and even they stop at the movement in the middle of the stage, which is minimizations. It was dependent on how the cultural confirmations or negotiation occurred within each individual. So this finding triggered a further question. Does interculturally competent means that individuals should be always in the last stage of the MIS theory proposed by Bennett? Or how if, after following the process of adjustment, people decided consciously to be in the first main stage of the MIS of developmental continuum, which is minimizations, for example, and can we consider them as interculturally incompetence? And this is my research reflections. From this pilot of the study, I make some research reflections. Those are construct better research question and title for my PhD research, and also change my research instrument, which is previously I will use narrative framework, but because my prospective participants do not want to tell their story in the written forms, and thus I changed the instrument and technique in collecting the data by using 3-cycle interview. And then I also consider the strategy and the durations of my interview sessions, and also rearrange my interview guideline to get deeper information, and formulate the step of my re-narrating the process, and point out some possible stage of the MIS theory that has not been discussed in the theoretical framework. And the last is the process of analyzing the data of this study assist me to find out the pattern of thematization for my data analysis for my PhD research. And those are all my presentations, and thank you. I'll give the floor back to Mbak Ernest. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Ulil, for the great presentations. So let's give applause to Ms. Ulil. Okay, now we can jump to the next section. This is a Q&A session. So there is 2 questions that has in chat box. So the first question is from Elizabeth Ratri from Lembaga Bahasa Universitas Sanata Dharma University. The question is for Ms. Ulil. Okay, how do you enhance teachers and students' multiculturalism, awareness, and ability during the pandemic? Because people cannot travel freely during the pandemic. Do you have any suggestion to give intercultural exposure in online language class? Okay, Ms. Ulil, you may have answered the question. I will give you around 3 minutes. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. Yeah, my research is not in my own class, but I do a narrative inquiry research. So I try to explore the teacher's experience. I mean that I explore teacher's experience who has international experience. I mean that my participants has already had an international experience before they teach EFL classroom. So I explore their experience, whether their international experience improve their, develop their intercultural sensitivity or development. And if I return back to this question, it means that who is asking? I'm so sorry. Ibu Elizabeth. Okay, Ibu Elizabeth is questioning about my own classroom. Yeah, whether I enhance teachers and students multiculturalism in my research. I do not do anything in my research. I only explore the teacher's experience. But how about in my own classroom? In my own classroom, I sometimes I also incorporate culture in my teaching, but implicitly. Okay. For example, when I give the example in my classroom, I try to I try to incorporate the students their own local culture. Perhaps I'm teaching speaking, and then I will I will say to them that it is okay for having pronunciation as you are a Japanese, but we need to learn still native speaker pronunciations like that one. Okay, that is one of the example of the way how I incorporate interculture in my classroom. And the second questions, do you have any suggestion to give intercultural expression? Okay, it is also my question when I first time conducting this research, because I conduct this research in pandemic era. So I also consult it to the lecturer, and they said that it still can be done by giving the students project-based learning. Okay, teaching or learning interculture does not mean only travel abroad, but we can also give them some kind of project-based learning, or we can ask the students to watch to watch YouTube, or there are many kind of resources that we can use to incorporate culture into the classroom. Okay, that's all my answer. Hopefully that it will help answer the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Ulil. I hope it's answering the questions of Ms. Elizabeth. And we next to the second question. It is from Ms. Veronica Tri Prihatmini from Sanata Dharma University. It goes to Ibu Rosinta. And the question is, I might have missed some information in your presentation, but I was wondering about what is the biggest challenge of the lecturers in teaching listening class, and how did the lecturers establish authentic assessments? Okay, Ms. Rosinta, you may answer the questions. I'm sorry, Ms. Rosinta, you should unmute yourself first.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question, Ibu Veronica. Ibu Indri, what about this question? Pak Fauzan? Okay. Sorry. The question is, what is the biggest challenge of the lecturers in teaching listening class? During this remote teaching, I think teachers, I mean, because of we teach in higher education, yeah, we teach in a university. I think the best challenge is only about the connection, the activity that the teachers apply all the time. I think it's not too much difficult for teacher, either for the teachers and also for the students. Usually the teachers apply the video, and then the students are asked to listen, and then the teacher also assign the students with the topic, and the teacher the students listen to the topic, and me as a teacher actually asking them to do the extensive listening. Asking them to do the extensive listening, and then we discuss the topic that I gave to them about the certain topic, and we discuss about it. That's the activity that I usually use. I usually apply to teaching listening to the students. I think the challenges, I think only the connection, I think. That's my question. That's the answer. And about the assessment, as I thought before, that usually the teacher apply the individual assessment. The activity that the teacher asks the students to do, we use the LMS, right? And then they put the video, and then we check their work. That's the usual activity that we apply on grading the students. Ibu Veronica. That's the answer. I don't know, Ibu Indri?
Yes, Bu Nora.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think
excuse me.
Yes.
Indri, can you turn on your camera while you answering?
I am sorry, I cannot turn on the camera because there's some problem on my connection, and I will have to be bounced out if I turn it on. Yeah, I'm sorry, everyone.
Okay, it's okay,
for not turning on my camera.
Okay.
Yes, Bu, there are two questions, and Bu Nora has addressed about the issue, the biggest challenge in teaching listening. Yes, of course, as Bu Nora said, the biggest challenge that was faced by most of the lecturer at this pandemic situation mostly is in relation with technology. And connection. I mean, one of the example is in my case at this time, the connection is quite poor. And of course, also when the research was conducted in our area, in our place, we had just started to be thinking about facilitating students learning online. And then, lecturers still have some of the problem in designing, engaging, how do we say, engaging learning activity. And then, as Ibu Nora has addressed previously, the lecturer were trying to develop their competence through several ways that are available, whether provided by our own university or the teacher try to find some other professional development courses in relation with the designing or with facilitating learning online. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge on how we as a lecturer developed our own competence in facilitating listening, teaching listening online. And then in relation with assessing, authentic assessment, in this research team, I have not, I can say that I have never been in listening class. I mean, I have never been facilitating any listening class, but when we discuss with some of the friends, or even with Bu Nora and Pak Fauzan, there are some other technique that might be done by the lecturer or the teacher in relation in order to assess our students' learning in listening skill authentically. Some of the lecture mentioned that they use like project-based learning. So a certain project is designed, and the student will have to be able to complete that project when they are able to get, they have information from their listening. So it's not necessarily only be like answering question or discussion, but it could be like a kind of project. Say, for example, a simple project. One of the example that I I think that I will do if I have a listening class, I might give them a listening or a video for viewing, because listening is also viewing. Another skill of receptive skill at the moment is listening and also viewing. I would think about giving them a kind of listening text or discourse, and then transform the information into, let's say, something like an infographic, or transform that into a kind of mind map or concept map, so that this kind of a project is something which is it's a kind of authentic listening that they have in relation with something that they we usually do in our when we listen to any particular spoken text. I guess that's what I can say, in addition to what Ibu Nora has already explained previously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for Miss Indri and Miss Rosinta for answering the mystery questions. Okay, I hope it answered it, mystery. Okay, so we next to the third question. It is from Dandi, from Sanata Dharma University. It goes to Ibu Rosinta. Thank you for your amazing presentation, Miss. My question is, do you think teachers should insert listening activity in each lesson, or will it be better to have a listening skill being taught separately? I would love to hear your personal opinion. Okay, Miss Rosinta, you may have answering the question.
Okay, Pak Dandy, thank you very much for your question. You asked me about my personal opinion. Actually, in my opinion, listening skill, we have to teach listening skill based on the material that we give to the students directly with the material, and then we try to apply the listening skill to the student. For example, when we give them script, the listening script, and then we ask them how to find the main idea of this script, something like that. So we ask them to listen, and then we try to practice the skills that they have to know at that time, what skills that we are going to tell them, Pak Dandi. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Miss Rosinta, for answering the question. But I would like to inform you that it is Miss Dandi. She is a student from Sanata Dharma University.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
I'm
it's
so
okay,
sorry.
Miss. Okay. I think we all have answering all the questions, and maybe in case you still the participants still have a question that you haven't got a chance to deliver, you may check the program book, and you're going to find all presenters' email address, and you can send them your questions there, and I'm sure they will be glad to answer your questions too. Okay, before we back to the main room, I would like to take a picture with all of the participants in this room. Can you guys open the camera, please? Okay. Okay, thank you so much for opening the camera. Okay, we will wait the other. Okay. Okay, let's take a picture. I would like to count down.
Ibu Dandi. Mbak Dandi.
I cannot open my camera, Miss.
Okay, it's okay, Miss.
Yeah, thank you.
I will count down. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much for this amazing session for in this 4 parallel. And that's the end of parallel session 4. And after this, we'll proceed with our 5th keynote from Dr. Kosa Kastuhandani, and we will share the link of day 2 exit ticket in the main room at 2:30 p.m. Okay, and thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of conference and see you again in LLTC 2022. Thank you so much for the presenters and all the participants.
Thank you, Mbak Ernest and the
Thank you,
host.
Ernest, Bulil.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Mbak Ernest, the link to the main room cannot be clicked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you resend? Yeah.
Yes, the operator, my operator will resend it to you, Miss.
Okay. Thank you.
Bisa?
Nggak bisa juga ini.
Di jadwal
Wait a
Bu.
minute, Miss.
Oh, is it the same dengan
Yeah,
yang
yeah.
tadi pagi?
Yes,
Oh, ini
actually it's
udah.
the same with the,
Alright.
yes, okay. Thank you so
Iya.
much, everyone. Ladies and
Thank you
gentlemen.
very much, everyone. Bu Lil, Bu Nora.
Iya, Bu Indri.
Yeah, see you in the main room.
Ya.
Thank you, Mbak Ernest.
Thank you, Miss Rasinta.
Ya, bye-bye.
Mr. Muhammad Badrus, the exit ticket will be available in the main room at 2:30 p.m. So you should back to the main room to get the exit ticket link. Thank you.